Good morning, Kingswood House pupils, parents and staff, and welcome to this week's short Headmaster's blog. It's Friday the 2nd of October. I find it quite hard to believe that we are indeed in October. This term has rattled past, starting in September, and it's only really when I look out of the window, indeed step out of the door and see the weather forecast, that I realise that thanks to the precipitation on offer, we are now firmly embedded in October. And it is, of course, an interesting month. It was originally named after the Roman Emperor Octavius, and it formed the 8th month of the original Romulus calendar at the foundation of Rome. It was only many centuries later that it was knocked back to become the 10th month in our current calendar. And of course, that is a little incongruous because octo, the stem of the word October, means 8. And you might suddenly recognise words like octopus with their 8 tentacles to see the derivation there from the Latin name. It's also synonymous with harvest, and culturally across the world this is a time when farmers will reap the fruits from their fields and provide an offering and a thanksgiving for the food that we'd often take for granted. And I'm really looking forward to the online provision that we're going to have in the week before half term from some of our younger boys. So thank you very much to Miss Foster and Mrs Lambert for putting a little something together that we can look forward to for our own Harvest Festival contribution. And thank you parents as well for your generosity, because I believe that we're all hoping to contribute a small amount towards a very worthwhile local charity. More recently, October has also become the time of year in which we reflect upon Black History Month. Mrs Hornstetter has put together a great PowerPoint which was circulated to all of the form teachers this week, and there is a copy or a summary of that in the newsletter which I would urge you to have a look at if you want to have an introduction and explore that theme with your family. Certainly two great influences from the Afro-Caribbean community in my life have been Sir Viv Richards, the outstanding West Indian cricketer, and Derek Walcott, who is one of my favourite poets, and he has a mastery of words and language, the like of which is very, very hard to reconcile. So if you've never heard of those two gentlemen, then I would urge you to, boys, do some research and see the great Sir Viv in action, the master blaster batsman, who in many ways was the early version of T20 when he got going, and Derek Walcott, whose verse and prose and poetry I found most inspiring and still do. Now, we've also been looking at women in music, and Miss Foster has again contributed a piece to this newsletter which will outline the kind of work that she's been doing with the boys, and again that you can share. And I know that she's going to be moving on to famous composers, famous female composers with our boys very shortly. So I'm really encouraged to see how Kingswood House is at the vanguard of equality and inclusion moving forward. It's really inspiring to see. So thank you both for your contributions, and boys, let's really support this worthwhile initiative for the rest of the term. Earlier this week I welcomed Mark Hoskins, the head of Reeds, and also Helen Keevil, who's the pastoral deputy at Epsom College, for a visit and tour. They both really enjoyed seeing how the school has evolved since their last visit a few years ago, and took away a great impression of our boys and their courtesy and their manners. And I think that it's a really important time for us just to redouble our efforts as we move towards half term in a couple of weeks' time. We don't want those standards to slip. We want to keep them up and to maintain them. Now, I know that many of you boys will be feeling the pace and feeling tired, and that is entirely predictable and indeed understandable after a long summer and of course a lot of time out of school. But the staff are feeling it too. And we really need as a community to pull together and make sure that we're all at our optimum during the school day and all doing our bit to make sure that we're here for what we are originally purposed for, which is to learn and of course to demonstrate our core values. And parents, of course, you have a part to play in this, which is to reinforce our key values at home whenever possible. And I would just urge you to pause and think twice before you hit the send button on an email. My staff have been incredibly patient and vigilant, and I hope you've appreciated how prompt they've been in terms of their responses. But after a month now back in school, time is precious, And I would far rather that they were devoting their energies to teaching, learning, marking, interacting with the boys, rather than admin. And I know that's a big ask, because you're not allowed on site without an appointment, and I do understand that. And of course, communication is one of our watchwords and one of our great beacons. But please just do so advisedly. Please just put in mind context and perspective is everything. At such a busy time, when everybody is feeling tired, I would just urge you to think twice. If you haven't heard from the school about something, it is unlikely to demand your immediate attention. Of course, there are exceptions to that. Of course there are. But in general, I would just urge you to think twice, and we'll be really appreciative of that at this important time. Next week, I would urge you to remember to wear an item of red clothing on Monday for Dyslexia Week, and then a small item of yellow on Friday as we support Hello Yellow Day in support of young minds. And on Thursday, the Pret-a-Portrait photography team are in school, and I need all of the boys to be, or at least to have, their uniform with them to change into if necessary as a one-off, so that we can take class photographs as we do on an annual basis, still within their bubbles. So there's quite a lot just to be organised for next week, and I would ask you to redouble your efforts and make sure that you're on top of everything, please, because it only takes one boy not to be participating for them to stand out for the wrong reason. And I think these are all incredibly worthwhile causes. It would be great to really get behind them. So now moving on to this week's dispatches. The theme for this week has very much been trying to consolidate respect. So there's lots of respectful boys being mentioned today, as well as, of course, some other stuff as well. So to start with, Ted Ramsey, well done for you and your mathematics. Zachary Bland for great work also in maths from Mrs. Marskell. And to Torin in Year 4 for being kind and respectful to peers and teachers from Miss Smith. Well done to Byron Miller in 5F for being respectful and polite, always working really hard at everything he tries. Well done from Miss Forbes. And into 5S, Enzo Beretta Polaro for working hard, showing a really great positive attitude. And to Nathaniel John for being helpful and keeping everyone stocked with antibacterial hand soap and paper towels from Mrs. Seaver. Thank you to you. And Oscar Emmett, well done as well for you and scoring some goals from Mr. Barrett in games. Really tried hard, persevered and didn't give up. So well done, Oscar. Into Year 6, lots of mentions this week for Kieran Schmidt from Madame Swift for excellent persuasive writing. Alex Wang also. And Mr. Clark has also singled out Kieran and says he's respectful of his classmates and staff at all times. He conducts himself as a real ambassador and an example to all. So Kieran, that's great. Alex Hayworth, well done for you from Mr. Barrett in science, and Izyan Siddiqui as well. And Jack Guiney for looking after a boy who came in for a taster moment from Madame Swift. Jackson Worth into 6R for great concentration, and Tristan Bush for having a best day in science and great experimentation. Well done to you. Into Year 7, Connor Towers has been nominated for excellent work in French, and Avanish Gunjal for great work in science. Zach Moffat has been nominated by Miss Black for a great positive attitude, loving to tell jokes in form time and generally cheering people up. And Dylan as well for being willing to help other people and being thoughtful and considerate, also from Miss Black. Mr. Barrett has also picked up on Zach doing really well in science practical work, and Jonathan Barnes too. And Josh Isles, again, another nomination for you, being polite, paying attention and trying really hard in French from Madame Taylor. Emir Ozdorici in 7P has also been nominated by Madame for his French work. And Mrs. Wraith has been very, very pleased with all of 7P for great work based upon the artist Angie Lewin. And Ed Collins for great investigative skills in science last week by Miss Patel. Into Year 8, well done Daniel Pepper, who has had a much better week this week, making a real effort both in and out of class. He has been singled out by Mr. Clark for great improvement, so well done Daniel. Commendations also for Ollie Ward, Matthew Mullin and Yvonne Tutai from Madame Taylor. And Rory Fitzpatrick has been nominated by Mrs. Hornstetter. I love this. He's been spotted by a member of staff, so caught being good, who has commented that whenever he comes to access his locker, he is just the perfect gentleman, so polite, considerate, well-mannered. Well done, Rory. Good to hear. And James Carr has been a very good prefect. Saw one of his peers upset and was really kind and courteous towards that pupil and made sure that they were okay. And well done to Ozzy Sullivan for his work in maths from Mr. Barrett. Into 8T, commendations this week for Zachary Fitzgibbon, Tarani and Owen Courtney from Madame Taylor. And Owen Courtney again has been singled out for great work from Mr. Barrett. Into Year 9, Tyrrell Byrne has been focusing and giving a huge effort in his lessons. And Enan Abdul has worked really hard in his French. And Ali Al-Rabai has done fantastically well with focus and effort in mathematics. Ryan Luneman in 10H has chosen a great topic for his HPQ and really enthused about working towards it, so I'm looking forward to hearing about that. Owen Fisher has also been really polite, opening and closing doors and generally showing excellent manners, so well done, Owen. Theo Spick and Angelo Cooper were noted for doing an excellent tour at the open morning, and Max Mitchell-Nesbitt has been charming and empathetic, informed discussions, which is really good to hear, Max. Well done to you from Mrs. Weston. And Mr. Bailey is just very pleased with 11B. You've all worked consistently well and shown commitment and really engaged and motivated in the excellent study skills seminar earlier in the week. I'm looking forward to meeting with you and your parents next week to discuss next steps and careers. How exciting. And obviously I've already met this week with 11W together with Mrs. Wraith and Mr. Sukdeo and Miss Black. So we had some great conversations there and some really exciting plans for you guys for the future. Well done. Mrs. Wraith has just added, it was lovely to attend your further education options choices during the evenings this week. Make the most of the advice that's been given to you and make the most of your time in school now in advance of your GCSEs and really get your head down, because it's great to have these plans set now. You now need to focus your attention and get from A to B. So well done from Mrs. Wraith. So that just about wraps things up from a very busy week here at Kingswood House. We have a Friday open morning to look forward to today. Rain notwithstanding, I hope that the natural warmth of a Kingswood House welcome shines through. And as ever, I wish you all a very pleasant weekend.